Hey folks, so we heard from Ricky Fields and his claim about Mike Palmerton. I wanted to find and interview Mike Palmerton, but I also wanted a face-to-face interview with Ricky Fields. I was unable to return to Ohio for several months because I had just gotten back from a trip. The best thing to do at that point was to hand over this information to the police. After the issues I had with the Fairfield Police Department, I was contacted by a sergeant who was obviously a PR person for the department. And we talked through our issues. He provided me with information, and in turn I provided him with some information. So at that point I was comfortable with sharing the information I had with the Fairfield Police Department. I contacted Rebecca Irvin a couple days later and shared what Ricky Fields told me about Mike Palmerton. I put her in contact with Ricky, and they set up a face-to-face meeting for the following Monday. I believe this was a Friday. I did tell Detective Irvin that I would like Ricky to take a polygraph. I also asked Ricky if he would take a polygraph, and he agreed without hesitation. One day before he was supposed to meet with Detective Irvin, Ricky called me and said his job was sending him to New Jersey. He said he didn't know when he would be back. Red flags were going off everywhere. Did I believe he was on his way to New Jersey? No. What could I do about it? Absolutely nothing. This entire thing with Ricky and Mike was very disturbing. I needed them both in front of me face to face. But yet, I also wanted them both to take polygraphs. One will comply. The other, I haven't even met in person yet. After relaying this information to the police, a special unit sergeant was assigned to find Heather and Ryan and also track down Mike Palmerton. At least, that's what I was told. This was in late March, early April of 2015. So, the good news, Fairfield was doing something to follow up. My question, how aggressive were they going to be? Well, we'll find out very shortly. Thank you for listening to Gone at 21, The Investigation. It was time for me to go back to Ohio. That was evident. This lead with Michael Palmerton could be the lead that breaks this case wide open, or it could be a big waste of time. After arriving in Ohio for the second time, I set up an appointment with Karen Winkler by herself. Before I met with Karen, I was contacted by Katie Harris. Katie was John Palmerton's girlfriend back in 2011. Now she is living her life as a traveler. I just missed Katie. She had just left Fairfield a day or two earlier. But I had her on the phone, and she told me some very interesting things.
August 14th, okay. I was at my boyfriend at the time's home, which was right down the street from hers, on Ann Court. And John called us asking us if we had heard or seen Katelyn at all, and we told him no, and he seemed kind of worried because he couldn't get a hold of her all day, and so we went over there to her apartment building in the parking lot, and he's like, well, I don't know what to do. You know, I haven't heard from her. He called her parents and stuff, or her dad. And I believe that's when he called the police.
Did you and John Palmerton actually go in and look around?
Yeah.
Describe to me what you saw.
Her house, it seemed normal. Her dog was locked in the bathroom, and her dog was never locked in the bathroom. That was the only thing that kind of seemed odd to me. But, I mean, everything was clean. It didn't look like anything out of the normal except that her dog was locked in the bathroom.
Okay. So, you went in with John, or you went in after John went in?
John Palmerton? Or
No,
John Carter?
John Carter.
I went in after him. He said that he had already went in before we went there.
Okay. And you said the dog was locked in the bathroom?
Yeah.
Do you know if John did that, or was John like, why is he in the bathroom type thing?
Yeah, he said he didn't do it.
Okay. How did John seem?
Yeah, he seemed like he was worried.
Okay.
No, because he was going to go over to her house during his lunch break so they could eat lunch or something together, hang out for a little bit. And she wasn't there, and they normally talk and text all day, and she hadn't talked to him all day, and he called her work, and they said she didn't come in, and he was pretty worried. He didn't know what to do.
So he told you he called it her work?
I do believe.
Okay. And so he went to her house during lunch and she wasn't there?
Yeah. It was he was at work. It was like his lunch break or whatever. And he went there to check on her. And she wasn't there.
Okay. It was in the evening hours though, right?
Yeah, it was in later afternoon.
Okay.
Probably. It wasn't early in the day or anything like that.
Okay. So when you got there as well and you walked through the house, the dog was actually in the bathroom?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you guys walked upstairs, and what did you see in her room? Did you see anything? Out of the norm, I should say.
She had a little cup full of pencils that was knocked over.
Let's take a minute and talk about what Katie said about the dog and what John Carter said about what he did with the dog. You remember John's claim he found the dog locked in Katelyn's bedroom. Brad Von Bargen also said when he arrived that night, the dog hung out for a minute and then he was taken upstairs. Katie just informed me the dog was in the downstairs bathroom. This is a claim Katie stands by today. When I asked John Carter what he did with the dog, he originally said the dog was on a chain outside with him and Katie and John Palmerton. This claim, John Palmerton backed up. John Carter's answer to the dog question as time went on was, I don't know. What I do know about the dog is this. Katelyn put the dog in the downstairs bathroom when she left because he made a mess in the house if she didn't. This was confirmed by David Markham. So, if Katelyn was leaving, even for a short time, the dog would be placed in the bathroom. If it is true that the dog was in the bathroom, it is very possible and very likely Katelyn placed the dog there because she was stepping out for a while, but she never came back. This would explain why she had her phone, because she thought to and she had the opportunity to take it with her. In other situations, she wouldn't have had the chance or the opportunity. If the dog wasn't in a normal spot, it leaves the possibility wide open to what happened to Katelyn. If something happened when Katelyn was about to go to bed, like someone knocking on the door, the dog would be in her room for the evening. So, we have a scene with the dog in a place that allows for speculation as to whether or not an occurrence happened when Katelyn was settling in for the night. This brings me to wonder, would Katelyn open the door for a stranger? Here are some of Katelyn's closest friends.
Someone random was knocking on her door. I don't feel like she would answer it. I feel like if anything happened that night, I don't know if she'd answer the door for someone random that late.
I know it has to be somebody that she knows. That's about the most I could tell, and that's what I told everybody from the get-go. Because Katelyn is not the kind of person that would just open up her door for some random stranger, and there's a window on her back door.
It would have to be someone she knows. She's not dumb. She wouldn't just open the door for somebody. And if she did, she would be smart about it, you know. She'd close the door and probably go get her phone or whatever. I don't know. I don't want it to be someone that she knows, you know. I don't want someone to have betrayed such a wonderful person.
This gives somewhat of a scenario that Katelyn was extracted in some way from her bedroom and taken, whether a knock on the door or someone entered, went upstairs and took her. It leaves that theory wide open. But there are issues with this theory. Katelyn's bed had clothing on it. It had coats on it. It had a purse right in the middle of where she would be laying if she was sleeping in her bed. So she wasn't awakened from her bed and taken. There's no way Katelyn would have been able to sleep in her bed without moving those items first. There were no signs of forced entry, but the back door has a window that was unlocked. At least it was 24 hours earlier. I know this because her sister got into the townhouse that way when she and a couple of friends arrived after attending the Sacred Heart Festival. Of course, she couldn't remember if she locked the window after entering. If an intruder took Katelyn, most likely her phone would be left behind. As we know, her phone is still missing. We know for a fact it was not a burglary or a home invasion because of the items left behind. I have been asked not to mention those specific items by law enforcement, so I will respect that request. Now, here is another reason why the dog may have been in the bedroom when John got there. Something happened earlier that evening when the dog had already been escorted upstairs. The dog wasn't a thought at the time and forgotten about. Katie also mentioned about a boy that had a crush or was in love with Katelyn and got mad when she turned him down.
There was a boy that she went to school with. I don't know his name at all. He was in one of her classes with her. He liked her a lot and wanted to, date her, but she was engaged to John. And he was quite upset that she wouldn't give him the time of day. I don't remember a name or anything. That's unfortunately all I have. But
okay,
I don't know if it could help or not.
All right, you don't remember a name or what do you look like?
No, I never met him personally. I don't even believe she gave me a name. I just remembered that she was telling me about a boy that was in one of her classes. That he really liked her, and he got upset with her because she wanted to go out on a date with him.
I mentioned a neighbor who we are calling Brian, who remembers that night and what he noticed and didn't notice about the activity around Katelyn's house. He also witnessed a weird scene that happened days after Katelyn disappeared. Here's Brian with his story. August 13th, 2011. Tell me from start to end, when you left your house, what you observed, what you didn't observe, when you came back, and that type of stuff.
We were gone most of the day. We had a niece's 16th birthday party, and it was also mine and my wife's anniversary. And we was at her party through the day. We probably got home 8 o'clock that night. I didn't notice really. Her car was there, I believe, but I didn't really notice anybody else's car outside. It was kind of dark. I remember seeing, I want to say downstairs light was on in the kitchen, and you could her curtain was kind of turned back a little bit where you can see a bedroom light was on. We got home probably about between 7 and 8. changed real quick, went back out for dinner. Got back home from dinner probably about 9:30. And my wife was getting a little tired, so I went back out, left at probably about 10, and went up to the festival that was going up the street. And both times when I came in, we came back from dinner, and when I left, it was pretty much the same situation. Didn't notice anybody's car that was not, that wasn't there, that lived there.
So you knew John's car when he drove.
Right.
And it definitely was not in the parking lot.
Correct. At any of those 3 times that we'd been coming and going.
So you got back the first time at what, 9?
The first time was between 7 and 8, I want to say.
7 and 8?
Maybe even earlier than that. I can't remember what time we left at dinner. Somewhere, I want to say between 5 and 7.
Okay.
We came back from the party, went out to dinner. We got back from dinner, I want to say right around 9, between 9 and 9:30.
Okay.
And then I left again at 10, went up to the festival. I was up there for probably an hour, a little longer. That's when the storm came through. They shut down the festival early, so I came home. Still same situation.
What time did you get home from the festival?
Between 11:15, 11:30, somewhere in that area.
And still same, no.
Yeah, didn't see John's car. I really can't even recall if Katelyn's car was there or not.
Okay.
I want to say it was, but it's been 4 years now. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I do not remember seeing. I want to say her car was there, but his was not.
Did you? And you didn't see any suspicious vehicles?
Nothing. The only thing that did come up was probably about midnight, about 12:30, 1 o'clock. I was sitting in my living room. My wife was she would fell asleep on the couch, and I noticed a car had come in past we lived past, to get to hers, you'd come past hers to get to ours. And then next door is where a car had pulled in. I noticed it. By the time I got up to go check on it, they were backing up and pulled out of the way. I didn't see the car at all. It was already gone by the time I got up and looked.
Okay. But it wasn't long enough. It was just like someone turning around.
Yeah, it's like they were turning around and going back out.
Okay.
And that was, like I said, 12:30, 12:45.
Did you notice any activity at the house? Anybody in the house? Any noises that night?
And in the time that we left, we did not notice anything. I didn't see anybody there. I didn't see any movement. I didn't know if she was upstairs with.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure her car was there that night, but it just didn't look like anybody was there with her. Because I know the kitchen light was on. In the there was no lights on in the living room because you could see through. Her blinds were always open at the bottom, and you could see through. And the living room was dark. The kitchen had a light on, and there was a light in the upstairs bedroom.
When you came back from dinner, was it the same situation? The light on in the kitchen, and dark in the.
I believe so.
Okay, and then you went back out, and then when you came back. That's, around 10 or whatever, 10:30, 11:30.
Yeah.
And that's how...
Same situation.
Same situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't notice anything, didn't hear anything. We were gone most of the day, like I said, up until we got back from dinner. My wife had fell asleep on the couch when I left, when it came back, but that was...
Okay. Now, going on... After that day, were there any strange occurrences besides the media circus? Was there anything that was odd or?
No, we had just went to bed Sunday night when I saw. I heard some talking out back, and I looked out back, and that's when I saw John there with the police and Dave, and they were there, and we did tell the police that. I noticed when they left, there were some cars sitting in there for a while. A truck and another car was sitting. I don't know if they were all together. Had been there for a while after John and Dave and the police had left.
Okay.
And then the next thing I remember, then it all came out. We didn't know nothing was going on until it was on the news that she had been missing. And then I want to say it was that Tuesday or Wednesday, I was getting ready to leave for work. I usually leave around 7. All of a sudden I hear a banging on the door, not knowing what it was, so I went around, and John was there. He'd pulled his car up behind in their parking spot there and was banging on the door. And I went over to check and make sure he was okay. And he's just saying, "I miss her. I just wish she'd come home." And then he got in the car and left. Or then when I asked him about that night. I said, because I said I don't remember really seeing anybody. And he made the comment. He said, "Well, you didn't see my friend's car here." And I said, "No, I didn't see anybody's car." He pointed down to where that car had pulled in and pulled back out, but I didn't see any cars there. But he mentioned that his friend's car. He asked me if I seen his buddy's car.
When you came back around 7-8 o'clock, and then you left again, in that time frame, you didn't see any other car in there.
No, not that I recall.
Okay.
Other than who lived there.
Okay. All right. After that, did he seem kind of? I mean, was he just distraught? I mean, he had the key to go in, apparently.
Right.
And so, but he was banging on the door.
Yes. So from my understanding, he did have a key. I don't know if that's true myself. Just from what people were saying, they had a key, but he didn't go in. He was pounding on the door, knocking on it, and I went around just to see who it was, and it was him. And he said that it's always said, he said, I miss her so much. And then that's when we talked about it. He said, I told him, I said, I don't remember seeing anybody here that night. It just something just didn't seem right. And that's when he said, you didn't see my car? And I said, no. He said, what about my buddies? You didn't see it? And I said, no, I didn't see no cars that night.
Okay.
And then he got in his car and took off and left.
That was the end of the weird kind of stuff with him?
That was the last time I ever had conversation. And that's the first time I really talked to him, except for saying hi when he would come over to see her. I never really talked with either one of them, know him on any kind of personal basis or anything really much about him. Before that, did you hear them argue any? Not really. No? It's you didn't hear a whole lot between the two places. Mm-hmm. My wife seems to remember that the next morning she thought she remembered hearing their dog, and because we would hear it in the bathroom downstairs, the way our apartments were, our bathrooms were next to each other, and you would hear the dog in there whimper whenever they were gone for hours, and she said she remembers hearing it Sunday during the day, which we thought was odd, because he said when he came over that night, he had found it upstairs in the room. Right. When the police were there, who else was there? John, the dad. Were there any of his friends there? Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't recall. Okay. There was a few different people. I even, like I said, even after the police leave, some more came there afterwards. An older lady and a guy. I don't know if it was John's parents or whoever. I remember seeing them coming and go. But who was all there talking with the police, I'm not sure. Okay. We'd been upstairs, and I heard commotion. I looked out the back window and saw them afterwards, and this was when the police was leaving. How certain was your wife that she heard Murphy in the bathroom scratching? She told me she was pretty positive that she remembered hearing the dog in there Sunday. Okay. But just not sure if it was. Yeah. And then the days after that, I guess it was just a circus going on. Yeah. The police came over Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever, I think Tuesday, to interview us. And we gave them our information, told them the same thing, basically what we saw. And that's really the last I heard from them. Mm-hmm. And it was the day after. It was a day or two after when John had come back knocking on the door. After I talked to the police, I can't remember specific days or. Did you kind of think that was weird? Yes. Yeah. I mean. Do you think he was fishing for something? I don't. To me, I thought it stuck out to me because that's why I'm questioning. Because that's why I started questioning. I remember seeing you here, just for the fact that you're coming back and knocking on the door. If you know she's not here, why would you come and knock on the door? And then when I found out he had a key, why wouldn't you just go in and check if you got access to get inside? Right. Because I don't know if the police had changed the locks before then, or
No, at that point she was just still a missing person.
Yeah.
I guess. Is there anything else you'd like to add that maybe you forgot about with the police, or any other interviews that you want to add?
Not that I remember everything. Pretty much that's all I remember. I know it was pretty hard there for a while, just for my wife living right next door as well.
Yeah.
And that's why we finally decided to move, because it was just hard for her to sleep at night knowing everything went on. And,
She's pretty scared.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what we really didn't think it was some random thing. It wasn't enough, but I mean, you just got the point. And then when stuff got thrown out there on Facebook, our stories were taken and stretched out completely and turned all around. I mean, there was some stuff going on there, and that's why we went on there and kind of tried to defend our, because people were just making up these wild stories.
Yeah. And they still are.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to talk to you to get the complete story. Let me just ask one question. After he knocked on the door and said, well, I didn't see anybody here, he said, you didn't see my car or my buddy's car?
He said both.
Okay.
He said, you didn't see my car? And I said, no. He said, what about my buddy's? It was parked over here, and he kind of pointed down next to where I would normally park. Okay. Which would be, if you're looking at the back of our places, I was to the left and the next one down where he was pointing at.
But even before you left, like between 9 and 10, if someone would have come in there, you would have known.
Right.
And you could see from your house.
You could see headlights coming in and going, tail lights.
Right.
As it got darker. I mean, it was the middle of August, so it wouldn't get dark till 9.
Yeah.
But like I said, as soon as I saw the one car come in at 12:30, I saw the lights pull in. And first I thought it was a neighbor, but then they pulled in, probably there 2 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, and then backed right back out and then pulled out.
Okay.
And I did talk to our neighbor that lived next door there to us, and he mentioned that he saw a boxy-shaped car, is what he said to me was a boxy-shaped car. But I didn't see it to confirm anything.
Did you know him pretty well?
Just same with Katelyn. We didn't really get out and socialize a lot. If we saw each other, we'd say hi as we're passing, but not enough to really.
Right, to know them.
Right.
Anything strange, not just that over at Katelyn's? Well, first of all, what kind of people did you notice going in and out of Katelyn's house? I mean,
she didn't have a whole lot of traffic. Mostly people that was her age.
Mm-hmm.
Usually her friends that kind of look same kind of dress up as her and John was.
Okay.
Nothing crazy abnormal, nothing.
Yeah.
And they never really had any. There was never really wild parties or anything going like that where they were disturbing anybody.
Okay.
They were always pretty quiet.
So, according to Brian, he didn't see John or Brad's car in the parking lot that night, and he was coming and going when we know both of them claimed to be there. We also heard about the dog again. The apartments were arranged where the dog could be heard in the downstairs bathroom from Brian's house, from his living room. His wife heard the dog Sunday morning. This backs up what Katie said about the dog being in the bathroom. And the timing would be before John went to check on Katelyn the first time. Also, John Carter banging on the door a couple of days after Katelyn disappeared. That's just odd behavior. It almost seems like he was trying to pull Brian in to engage him in a conversation about what he knew. Next time on Gone at 21, Ricky Fields and Mike Palmerton. I speak to both of them, but only one face-to-face. The other makes up a story and gets out of the meeting. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and like. If you're listening on iTunes, please don't forget to rate and review. This helps the show out tremendously. If you want to help support this podcast, please go to the Gone at 21 Facebook page. There you will see a GoFundMe link pinned to the top of the wall. Just click the link, and any amount you're willing to give will be greatly appreciated. I have some stuff going on in the next couple of weeks, so instead of an episode next week, I will see you in 2 weeks for episode 6 of the investigation. Until next time, I'm Jay Ryan. Take care.